Hey there, Ronnie. Welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good, man. How you doing over there in Texas?
Not too bad. Doing good. Getting hot and watching the Gulf. See these hurricanes developing. So that's where we're at.
Right. So, Ronnie, tell our viewers, tell us, what's your business? What do you do over at Wildlife Outfitters?
Well, we're an outdoor apparel brand. Started with my wife and my three sons back in 2015. And my son was actually going to school or at the time for graphic design. He came up with a logo and really kind of started it, just kind of as a hobby, kind of see where it was going to go. And fast forward now to where we are now. They carry our brand in, several retail stores. We do a lot of stuff online with our own website. So it's been going pretty good.
You got a pretty big social media footprint?
Actually, well, so what happened, we were building that, and just a couple of weeks ago, my Facebook got hacked and shut down. And so we're in the process of trying to recover that. But we don't do probably as much social media as we should, but we are working on building that a little bit because nowadays, I mean, if you're in business, if you're not on social media, you don't exist.
That's true that.
Right. Exactly. So, and I guess I'm slowly getting dragged along in that direction. So, that's kind of where we're headed as far as Facebook. And we do have a Facebook page for Wildlife Outfitters. Luckily, it was my personal page that got hacked. So, Wildlife Outfitters page is still out there. You can find it.
Right. I've had that happen before in my businesses too. So,
yeah,
it's a pain, but eventually Amazon will get around to it, or Facebook will get around to it.
Right. Exactly.
So, how has this whole COVID thing over the last two months affected your business?
Well, unfortunately, I've seen, a lot of the businesses out there that have been, pretty negatively affected. In fact, if you were a hair salon or a gym, you're effectively out of business during the lockdown. But fortunately for us, I do this full time, and it's just me and my wife. Now, my wife does have a full-time job outside, but for the most part, we were really unaffected. And if anything else, because of the lockdowns, everyone was at home. We're here in Texas. So people that couldn't work, the bass boats in the driveway, so they were hitting the lake and everything else. They did shut down a few of the parks, but you still got public access to the waterways and everything else. And so some of the retail outdoor stores that carry our brand, they were really busy. And so fortunately for us, just because that's the niche we're in, our business really, we didn't suffer at all. In fact, we were pretty busy. But it was also, I guess, a blessing and a curse because on the other side of things, supply chain, we had a huge problem. So once everything started to shut down, even though we were doing well, we had a lot of problems getting product. So that really slowed us down because we've got, retail stores that are out of product. And so they're placing orders and we're having trouble filling them, where it's taking a lot longer to fill them than normal, simply because supply chain.
Right. Yeah, I feel you, man. Our biggest retailer, their stores are open, but their distribution centers are closed.
Right.
And they've been closed for 2.5 months.
Right.
So the stores' shelves are now bare.
Right. Yeah. It was definitely an issue as far as supply chain. And even still right now, even though things are starting to open up, at least here in Texas, maybe we didn't have, obviously the same problems they had in New York and some of the other bigger cities, but because of a lot of the supply chain, is in China, where a lot of stuff comes from, we just had a lot of problem getting product and still are at this point.
So what have you done to adjust your business because you've got, supply chain issues?
Well, one thing that we've had to do differently is, whereas before, always I'm going to have some back stock of product. But what it's actually forced me to do now, because it's harder to get product, is I've found myself back stocking a lot more product than I normally would and keeping a lot more stuff on hand. And what I've noticed is I'm not the only one that's gone in that direction. So it's almost like the toilet paper crisis, So people see that kind of thing is going on. So everybody's hoarding. So it's kind of a similar situation. So now when I go out to get, some blank hats to put our stuff on, then I'm finding it harder and harder to get. And then if you go on to social media into some of the groups, you'll see that everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's bulk ordering giant amounts of product for backstock. And so you get this situation where it's just harder and harder to get. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I hear that from a lot of the business owners I speak with because they don't foresee this thing letting up for several more months.
Right. Yeah, I don't either, unfortunately. And the thing is, our business now, because we're in the summertime, we do a lot of stuff in the fishing industry as far as our apparel and things like that. So all that's cranking up, but supply chain is just lagging behind still. So it's, like I said, we find ourselves kind of ordering in more bulk than we normally would just to make sure we can maintain our inventory.
So you're ordering more less times.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. And ordering in bigger bulk when we do, just so that we have it on hand.
Does that cause logistic issues? Like, I mean, have you got a warehouse, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, we've got plenty of room as far as storage goes. It just is a little bit, as far as cash flow. So now you're having more money tied up in inventory that's sitting, waiting to be sold versus just kind of having a little bit more, cash flow. But so now more of it's, cash flow sitting in inventory than normally would be.
Yeah, you've got carrying costs that are going to be higher this year. I get that.
Exactly right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, we manufacture products, and we had a period where the guys doing the work actually had to be 6 feet apart, and then they didn't want to like our packaging people. It slowed down the entire process because the employees had to physically be away from each other.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Do you find that as well?
Well, fortunately for us, since it's just me and my wife, one good thing is, like I said, she works outside the home, but she works for a doctor's office. She works for a cardiologist, and they were effectively shut down. So she was actually here full time with me from March, and actually just went back to work a week ago. So fortunately for us, we didn't suffer those same kinds of setbacks because really it's just me and her. So we were able to just really work and got a lot of things done. So fortunately for us, that part of it really didn't affect us quite as much as it probably did some other businesses. Thank goodness.
You predominantly ship through UPS?
We use UPS, FedEx. Pretty much what I'll do is I'll shop the big three: UPS, FedEx, and Postal. And whatever's least expensive for myself and the customer, that's what we use.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. One of the nice things was that that's one of the things that wasn't really affected was the shipping side of the business.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We really didn't have any issues with that. So that was a good thing. We weren't able to, we were still able to ship product, no problem.
Right. So your retailers, are they more like regional retailers or national retailers?
No, what we have really tried to stay, because this is part of what we wanted to promote when we got into this thing, is once we started to really kind of catch on and kind of get a following. And well, let me back up a little bit. So originally our plan was, I never wanted to have a brick and mortar store. That was never we really were just going to build an online only company and, make the product, sell it online. And that's really all we were going to do. And somewhere along the way, we kind of got approached by some local retailers that wanted to carry our product. So once we kind of streamlined the manufacturing process, and at that point we were outsourcing everything. So we weren't making anything. We were just, outsourcing it. And the only way that we could get margins right to be able to wholesale and retail was to bring all the manufacturing in-house. So now we do all our own embroidery. We make all our own shirts. We do everything. So now, since we can do that, we have been able to get into more and more retail stores. But what we really wanted to do, of course, everybody says, hey, man, you need to get your stuff into Academy, in some of the bigger box stores. But what we've tried to do is promote more of the mom and pops and the local stores. So that's where we are. We're in the locally owned stores here in our region, and then now trying to spread out more into Louisiana and some of the other. But that's where we're really trying to stay, is kind of support more the locally owned, outdoor stores and family stores and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a great model, because I think what ends up happening is with the big box stores is the mom and pops are getting squeezed out.
Exactly right. Right.
Yeah, and people prefer to be able to run down to their local guy because not only are you going to get a good quality product, but you also get information. You can ask
True.
questions.
That's
I mean,
right. A relationship.
last time you went into a big box store, you're talking to somebody just graduated from high school and they don't know what they're doing.
No, exactly right. Yeah. And that's the thing too. A lot of the stores that we deal with, these local stores, you walk in there, the guy knows your name, and to some people, maybe that's not a big deal. But when you walk into the mom and pop shop, it's got more of a family feel. You walk into the big box store and you're just another guy walking around. So that's where we kind of like to stay and help promote those guys, because what we do, we're actually in the process of rebuilding the website now, but we will have a section on our website where we can promote all the different stores that carry our brand.
Right. So would you say that right now, well, online was the biggest portion of your revenue, sales revenues, but now it's kind of shifting more to the retail side, or do you still
Correct.
see online being the biggest portion?
I think online's probably going to get bigger, because I think I think we've been trending that way anyway. But, with everybody walking around with the internet in their hand, it's pretty, you'd be pretty, I guess, behind the times if you weren't having a pretty big online presence. So we are just now starting to ramp up our online as far as advertising through Facebook and Instagram and all the different ways to promote on social media. So we spent a lot of time over these last 3 months, because we had a little bit of time rebuilding our website and trying to go more and more online, actually.
And because of this whole COVID thing that the whole world's been going through for the last 2.5 months, and people weren't able to go to the different stores because they had to social distance and all that stuff, and things were shut down. Do you think more people have spent more time buying online? Do you see that trend continuing in the future?
Absolutely.
Even when this whole thing is back to normal.
I do. Yeah, definitely I do. And I think you're just going to continue to see that even more and more.
Yeah. We're seeing the same thing here.
Mm-hmm. It's convenience. Nowadays it's all about convenience. And especially when people couldn't get out, they couldn't do anything. So they really didn't have anything else to do. So we definitely saw a spike. Our website traffic increased tremendously over these last 3 months for sure.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I guess so you're redoing your website now. Mm-hmm. Have you made any other changes in your business? What's your plan for when the economy gets back to normal? Because eventually the politicians will get their head out of their ass and get this thing back up and running.
Right. Hopefully so. Well, what we're trying to do is, just position ourselves by doing some of the things we talked about, keeping a lot more stock here, because who knows when something like this happens again. A lot of people were caught flat-footed, with this whole deal. So we won't have that happen again. So we'll put things in place where, over the course of, like I said, even though we weren't affected, our business was pretty good, because people were able to go and do outdoor things. So we'll make sure that we stay on top of that with inventory and things like that, so we don't run into these supply chain issues if something else happens again. It's almost like hurricane preparedness. You can't wait until the storm hits to start stocking up on stuff. So we'll follow that same model with our business as far as being able to make sure we have inventory on hand if there's supply chain interruptions, like this again.
Yeah, I can absolutely tell you, being in Florida, I can't tell you when we're going to have hurricanes, but I can tell you we're going to have them.
Absolutely, no question about it. That's for sure.
And being, the business owner and being the entrepreneur, a big part of what we do is planning for the stuff you can't see coming.
That's right. And I don't think anybody could have saw this coming.
No.
I mean, that was really out of left field. No one's ever seen anything like that. I'm still really not sure how to process it all. And, I don't know how I would have handled it if I was the president, but, either way, we're in it. So we're just along for the ride.
Yeah. The United States, as far as I know, the United States economy's never been shut down before.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, never. That was absolutely crazy.
Now, what concerns me is, do they think this is a viable solution for other events in the future?
Right. Well, now we've introduced this, this reaction. So, what's to say something comes down the road and they say, well, everybody's pretty well conditioned. Let's just lock it down again. And, until whatever the crisis may be passes. So that is a little bit concerning. for them to be able to have that. And I don't know, it was pretty concerning to see how it all went down.
But as business owners and running the show, I think if that happens again, we pull the trigger and order a massive amount of inventory immediately.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Because if not, you're going to be stuck out. That's for sure.
I'm going to be like, put it out the emergency folder. Call this one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one.
Yeah, really. Well, exactly right. Well, and a lot of the suppliers that we use, they were closed completely. They didn't even have people working from home for a while.
Right.
So you couldn't even get a hold of anybody. You just get a recording that says, "Hey, sorry, we're shut down." So that's a problem.
Yeah. Right. So that being said, have you seen any other trends that you might take advantage of once we get back up and running?
Well, like I said, I think we're just going to make sure that we stay on top of things, as far as being able to make sure that our customers can get whatever they want, so that in the event something like this happens again in the future, we're not caught flat-footed, and we're going to be in good shape. What
is your product line, by the way?
So we do, primarily we're a lifestyle brand. Now we do have some functional things, as far as, some fishing shirts and stuff like that. But, so we do caps, we do shirts, we do, hoodies, heavy duty jackets, pretty much anything in the apparel, thing that you can think of as far as that goes. So that's what we do. And we, like I said, we do it all online, and took a while to get started. When we started in 2015, it took about 18 months to get everything copyrighted, trademarked, and all that kind of thing. But so it's going well. Like I said, we're building a good following, a good customer base, and everything is going in the right direction. So,
do you have any pro staff, or do you have any online influencers that promote your products?
We do. We've got let's see, we've got a guy that shoots in professional archery tournaments. We've got a guy that's a professional fisherman. We've actually had a couple of those. And I will tell you what I have found. I love it. I love these guys. They do a good job. They do a great job of, promoting our stuff and getting it out there. But I think the pro staff thing has gotten a little watered down. And I don't think it's what it used to be. I think there's just so much of it that I don't think it's as big of a brand building maybe tool as it used to be.
Right. When I'm approached, and I get approached probably once a week by somebody wanting to represent the product, I ask them for their social media links. It's real simple.
That's it. Exactly.
What kind of following you got on social media? Because that will determine your influence.
That's right, 100%. And what I have found with the influencers is a lot of times it's not so much about the number of followers, it's about the engagement that they get. So, if someone has 100,000 followers and you scroll through the feed there and they've got 2 or 3, comments and 1 like and share, that's probably not going to be the guy for me.
Right.
So,
yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah.
But that's definitely the way it's going, though.
Right. Oh, and another thing, too, I think there's value whenever I bring somebody like that on board is I want them creating videos. I want them demonstrating the product. I want them to show our product in use.
Right. That's it. And I think there's more and more, of that. What we've started to move more and more towards video as well, because what we have found by doing regular, ads versus video ads, the video ads get a lot more interaction. And I think a lot of things is going more and more towards that. And not even so much videos that are just all about product placement, but just, videos in general that have to do with the outdoors. Promoting just the outdoors, not just the product. I think people respond a lot more to that than, trying to sell in their face all the time.
When we're on social media, I try to do about 3 to 1. I try to do 3 kind of lifestyle images or videos, and then throw in a product.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we try to do the same thing, and I think that goes a long way in building a following, and people just enjoy what you're doing versus them just constantly being bombarded with an ad for buying something.
Buy now, buy now, buy now. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, because in the fishing industry, it's about what I found is it's about lifestyle. It really is about what you're doing.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. And, especially in Texas, now you're in the South too, but I know here, if you drive around, every pickup truck, if you look at the back windows, got a Realtree or a Yeti or some sort of sticker on the back of it, so people that are in outdoors, their lifestyle, and that's their passion, they love to show that off. And they love things that represent them. So that's really what we tried to create with Wildlife Outfitters, is a brand that kind of had something for everybody and represented, it's kind of like a brand, for outdoors people, built by outdoors people, which is why we have several different logos that we created. So if you notice on my hat, the Wildlife Outfitters, the W is the treble hook. Well, we have another one where the W is a set of deer antlers, and we have another one where it's a bow. We have one where it's a duck. So we kind of created some things to kind of fit everybody in.
One of the best books I ever read was World Famous by David Tierman. Mm-hmm. And what he talks about that in that book is the vicarious world that people associate with your brand.
Right.
So in other words, they see your logo and they think about hunting or fishing or, outdoor lifestyle.
Absolutely. And I think you're exactly right. And I think if you like looking for an example to follow, as far as a brand that has created that masterfully, at least right now, is Yeti. I mean, the way that they build their brand with their videos and all that kind of thing, and the way that they marketed it. I mean, you think of Yeti and you think of, the outdoors. I mean, they've done a fantastic job of doing that.
Yeah, because a product is a one-time purchase, but a brand is a lifestyle.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why you see people put them on their trucks for free.
That's exactly right. Yeah, absolutely. That's it.
Because that person identifies with that lifestyle.
That's right. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. And that's really what we try to promote anyway as a company. Nowadays it's all about, you see all these kids, they're stuck on the video games and the, everything else. So, we try to do some things out in the community and everything else to promote more outdoors. There's a lot of, I know growing up, of course, my dad taught me about hunting and fishing and all that stuff. But I'm wondering, even though the hunting and fishing industry is still huge, I'm wondering if maybe it's not suffering a little bit because I don't think it's being passed down to the next generation as much. And it may just be a simple function of maybe the kids are not interested in it because they're stuck on the video games or the TV or the Netflix or whatever. So we try to, through different things, to promote, getting those kids outdoors a little bit.
Yeah, it's probably going to be more video games and streaming and stuff like that because network and cable TV are going away. Just like newspapers, network TV, cable TV, they're just 20 years behind newspapers.
Absolutely. Yep. No question. Now it's all about Netflix and, Hulu and everything else, video on demand. So
I can tell you, I mean, I'm 54 years old and I unplugged from cable television and network television 3 years ago.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't want to sit down and waste hour after hour after hour in front of the TV. I want to watch what I want to watch, done, and I'm moving on to something else.
Exactly right. Yes, that's exactly right. And no commercials, right? So I mean, you can fast forward right through those if you want.
Yeah, exactly. And what I found is the storylines make more sense when it's not chopped up.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right.
So, anyway, that being said, we're coming up on the 25-minute mark. So I wanted to get your thoughts on how your business or the fishing industry will have changed permanently because of this 2.5, 3 month gap that we've had of, that disrupted our lives and how, people started, doing more things online. Because one thing I've known in running 11 years of running Digging Anchors is when fishing guys aren't fishing, they're watching videos about fishing.
That's right. Yes.
And now they have more and more time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a trend that I've seen. Have you seen any other trends that the change in the consumer's behavior will continue?
Yeah, well, I think also too it's psychological, you know. I mean, this thing is it's something no one's ever experienced before, and we're still basically in the midst of it. So I think a lot really remains to be seen. You know, it really depends on, I think, going forward, you know, once everything is totally opened back up again, how do people react to that? So if they came out, you know, today and said, hey, you don't have to worry about it. You never have to wear a mask again. You don't have to social distance. Everything's good. Would people still be, I guess, freaked out, you know, enough to even do that again? I mean, you know, it remains to be seen. You can go to the local, you know, Walmart or whatever right now, and half the people have on masks and half don't. So I think it really kind of remains to be seen. I think we're still in it enough to where I guess we'll have to see going forward how much normalcy really will return and what people will be comfortable with.
And I know this is going to be near and dear to your heart because you're in Texas. I mean, you know, we're in the fishing industry, so you got, you know, two guys on a boat, you're outside. That's probably not going to affect them.
Right,
But
exactly.
how about going and sitting with 60,000 people in a football stadium?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like I said, I guess it'll, you know, remain to be seen. I mean, I'm sure you've been at a weigh-in at a fishing tournament. There's, you know, people packed in there and everything else. So I guess we'll have to see how that, you know, how all that kind of stuff plays out going forward.
Yeah. But you definitely think that this whole thing has probably changed people's paradigm, I guess, that, you know, some people might even stay freaked out.
Yeah, I really do. I think, you know, if you just look at the society as a whole, like I said, you go out and you see half the people wearing masks and half not. We'll have to see when we get a few months down the road, you know, what that looks like. And if people, I do know this, I think it's going to be very hard, at least in my mind, and maybe here in Texas, to think that 3 months from now, 6 months from now, unless all of a sudden there's some huge outbreak again, that people are going to be walking around wearing masks forever. I really just don't see that happening, or at least I hope that doesn't happen.
Right. Well, like I said, I try to keep these interviews to about 30 minutes. And the last question that I always like to ask is not only do I have the manufacturing company, but of course, Business Fuel Tools is a marketing agency. So how can I help your business? What problem or what are you working on right now? What could we maybe I could give you some ideas about how to make your business better.
Social media, hands down, that's where we're weak. And we're weak because I haven't spent enough time promoting it and probably don't know enough about it as far as trying to build it. So that is really right now where we're trying to put a lot of our focus is into building the social media following. So if anything that we would be looking for, it would be in that area.
Well, let me ask you, have you heard of TikTok?
Yes.
TikTok is 18 months old, at least this version of it. And some of the best gurus that I follow, I don't know if you've heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, but
oh, absolutely. Yeah, big time.
He's been screaming about this for probably 6 months now, maybe a year.
Yep.
But he feels that TikTok today is where Facebook was in 2009.
Right. Right. And I guess, and even listening to him, he brings up some of the questions that I have in my mind. So does my brand really fit into the TikTok rather, audience, you know, their demographic? So I guess, like I said, I don't know enough about it to know if am I marketing to 12-year-olds or 15-year-olds that aren't going to be interested in my product, or what's their audience?
If you'd have asked that question 6 months ago, it was 15-year-olds.
Really?
Now, the average age has probably gone from 15 to 30 in 6 months.
Really?
Yeah. What I would encourage you to do is, if you don't have an account for your brand, create one, and just get on there and spend 3 or 4 hours just watching videos.
Right. Right.
And when you find one you like and you like it, the algorithm will start showing you more similar content. So
Gotcha.
what I do is that, I go on there with my account, and, when I see a kid, doing some sort of 60-second demonstration on some fishing technique or lure or something like that, when I hit that like button, I'll start seeing more and more of those.
Right. Gotcha.
So that being said, that's the opportunity to be a creator. And again, it's about tips and tricks and that sort of thing. But then also you can start buying advertising. So
sure, absolutely. Well, we'll definitely look into that for sure.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Twitter had its moment. Facebook's had its moment. Instagram has had its moment. Snapchat's had its moment. Now is the time to grab digital real estate on TikTok.
Right. Well, that and LinkedIn, I think also is still a little bit, a little bit left there where we've got a little bit, but definitely I'm interested in the TikTok.
Yeah. So that being said, what I encourage you to do is just get this thing out, stand in front of it for 60 seconds, and just start talking.
Right. Exactly.
Cool. Well, hope this whole interview was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoyed it.
Awesome. So that being said, let's finish this up. Tell us about, again, a little short bit about your brand and then how people can either buy it or contact you.
So our Wildlife Outfitters brand, we've got a little bit of something for everybody, hunters, fishermen, waterfowl guys, people that just like the outdoors. Come check us out. You can go to wildlifeoutfitters.com. You can check us out on Facebook. Right now we kind of extended our Memorial Day sale, so lots of stuff is still 50% off until we kind of run out of that. But go check it out.
You want to give a shout out to any of your local retailers?
Yeah, actually, County Home and Outdoors in Nederland is one of our favorite places there. Definitely check them out as well. They've got a lot of stuff online. CountyHomeandOutdoors.com. You can check them out as well.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, Ronnie, great interview and got a lot of great information. So more success to you, man.
You too. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
You too.